League is concentrated around what's called a meta. It means the most efficient strategies are constantly changing as the developer, Riot Games, releases patches that make changes to champions and the gameplay monthly. However, there are foundational concepts that remain the same throughout. Within this meta, there are predetermined roles or positions that the 5 players on each team can fill. These positions are known as top, jungle, mid, attack damage carry, which will be referred to as ADC, and support. The top laner will primarily select a tankier champion to provide a beefy frontline for your team. Since they have more health points than other champions, they work well as the first line of defense. The jungler is flexible in their role selection, but their responsibility is to destroy the neutral monsters in the jungle. Then, they run around lane to lane, surprising enemy champions and potentially taking them out. Just think of your jungler as your Aunt Margaret. Just when you think your chubby cheeks are safe, BAM! She hits you with the signature pinch and release. The mid position is where you will find all your mages and assassins. Some of the highest damage dealing champions will thrive here, as well as your Uncle Jim and his fancy card tricks. This position is reserved for the highly skilled. The ADC and support role both live out the early stages of the game in the bottom lane. The carry is a fragile, handle with care marksman or markswoman that needs to be babysat by a support until they get stronger. While the ADC's role is simple to do damage, the support's role is flexible in the sense that players can pick or use a variety of champions to heal, tank, or provide ways to stop the enemy right in their tracks. So, you think you're ready to go out and experiment a little bit? You fired up? Well, hold on to your horses for just a little longer. Before diving headfirst into your first competitive match, your team will go through what's called a pick and ban phase. Both teams will remove 5 champions for a total of 10 that they do not want to see played in the upcoming match. Your team could pinch a particular set of champions that fit a specific role. Maybe your team wants to remove a handful of assassins or potentially a few healers that can be stressful to deal with. As a result, players need to be able to master a variety of champions in order to be successful. During the pick phase, Team 1 always receives the first pick, followed by 2 picks from Team 2, then we'll have 2 more from Team 1, and so on and so forth in a snake format. Team 2 is given the opportunity to always have the last pick, and this is often a great opportunity to grab a counter pick. In other words, one champion that might do particularly well against the team the enemy has selected. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The main objective of all this is to take down the enemy nexus. You know to do that, you need to kill the enemy champions, gain ability points, destroy enemy turrets, blah, 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 blah. Well, here are some of the steps that you can take to make all of that a lot easier. In addition to the players and minions, there are also neutral monsters on the map. These monsters spawn at different times throughout the game. One of those monsters that we're going to dissect first are dragons. And no, Daenerys, no dragons were harmed in the making of this lecture. During a match, 1 of 4 dragons spawns in the bottom section of the map, each with a different perk when killed. To start, we have the Infernal Dragon, which increases damage here on the left side, the Cloud Dragon, which increases movement speed, the Ocean Dragon, which increases out-of-combat healing, and last, the Mountain Dragon increases damage to objectives like turrets or other dragons. When slain, you receive a permanent perk for the rest of the game and can stack these perks if the same dragon appears twice. While the spawning of the dragon is random, at the side of the dragon pit is an emblem that will tell you which dragon will be flying in next. Let's segue to the ugly duckling in the pond. Not only the elephant in the room, but the whole damn herd in the neighborhood. The Rift Herald and Baron, son and father, student and teacher, peanut butter and jelly. The Rift Herald spawns at the 10-minute mark. Upon slaying the Rift Herald, one teammate can pick up the Herald's eye to hold in their inventory. No, I seriously wish I was joking. It is literally the creature's eye in your inventory. Once a teammate activates the eye, the Herald spawns and begins to relentlessly travel down the nearest lane, pushing back enemy defenses until slain. The Herald's general purpose is to headbutt turrets and destroy them with ease. Just imagine Godzilla gunning straight for the Nexus, trying to destroy everything in its path. The eye itself only lasts in your inventory for 4 minutes, so choose carefully when to activate it. If the Rift Herald is not slain by either team, it will disappear at the 19 and 45 second mark in preparation for the Baron to spawn 15 seconds later. The Baron, when slain, provides a team-wide perk to those alive. This perk empowers your team's minions for extra damage and health whenever you or a teammate are around them. The Baron perk itself lasts for 210 seconds unless an enemy kills you. At that time, you lose the perk entirely until you or your team is able to slay the Baron again. Any member still alive with the perk, however, will still keep it for whatever time remains. In other words, it's not really lost as a team, just individually. Baron will spawn 7 minutes after being slain for you and your team to attempt to take it again. There is one key concept I have yet to mention. If you're not familiar with video games in any capacity, you may not know what Fog of War is. The area surrounding you, your allies, your allied minions, your turrets is what you can see. Past that radius is the Fog of War, an area that you and the enemy team are unable to see unless you have vision. All 10 players have access to wards which provide you vision wherever you set them down for a limited time. Think of them as little surveillance cameras. They can tell you if your enemies are stealing candy bars at the back of the store. Your enemies cannot see them, and you cannot see your enemies' wards, unless you have a sweeper or a control ward, such as this beautiful thing here. A control ward is a ward that can be seen by everyone, but it denies vision to enemy wards. This is the part of the movie where they ask their hacker friend to turn the cameras off. A sweeper is an item available to everyone for free in the item shop, which sweeps a small area of all enemy wards within that area. Once you have used the sweeper, you must wait a limited time before you can use it again. Vision is one of the ways that makes League of Legends a lot like chess. Planning ahead for certain objectives, clearing the vision around that area, and setting up your own wards to see if the enemy is coming. Oh, and of course, flipping the table when you lose. The ways in which a team may approach a game is constantly evolving. However, here are a few basic strategies that squads may employ throughout a match. To start, we have the split push. The split push strategy is probably the most appealing to the eye when you see it live. It revolves around the top laner pushing down a lane by himself while the rest of his team is trying to create a distraction. This looks appealing to the enemy because they're like, hey, we can fight this team 5 versus 4 and potentially win while the top laner is off doing his own thing. The problem is that doing his own thing might cost you the Nexus. Protect the ADC is another strategy that relies heavily on picking all the roles to fit in protecting and shielding the attack damage carry, or the ADC. Everyone's sole purpose is to keep the ADC alive during 5-on-5 engagements. Regardless of not if they get picked off one by one, putting all your eggs into one basket is rough, especially when the ADC dies first. Next, let's dive into the team fight and skirmish section. Certain compositions of champions will create certain strengths and weaknesses as a whole. Some compositions rely on you to fight only 5-on-5, preferably around important objectives like Baron or Dragon. If anyone gets singled out or caught away from the action prior to the fight, the whole team falls apart. Some compositions, however, are entirely reliant on you catching people out of position. You can never really face the enemy together as 5, so you try to weed them out and separate them. Or you catch one wandering around the jungle, and then you take an objective. Let's take a quick second to rewind to that team fight that we just saw, the 5-on-5 scuffle near the Dragon Pit. I'm going to break down everything as slow as possible, and rather than talk about what the abilities do, I'll be stating what types of abilities or combos are being used. Let's dive right in. So as we can see here, the red team is taking the Dragon. That is going to be the precursor for blue team to try to make an advancement into the river to see if they can maybe pick any of the remaining members off. You see, they don't really have much vision, and they can't see if any of the players are low. Ornn has come from the top lane and decides to flank this red team and try to catch them in an uncomfortable position. He summons his ultimate ability, a giant running ram that he's going to headbutt into and knock up 3 members of the red team. This is going to give the blue team an opportunity to see if they can pick off any of the members while they are stunned. Lux uses her ultimate, which is called Final Spark, to do some damage. And you can see there's a lot of damage going on to some of these priority targets. Meanwhile, off to the side, there are some blue members trying to flank as well. Blue team is spreading themselves a little bit thin. This gives Annie the opportunity to go on some priority targets, get them a little low, and now you see that the tides of the fight are starting to change over here. The blue members are a little bit lost, not sure who to focus, not sure where to go. Their whole life has been turned flipped upside down. And now Lux is on the retreat. Kha'Zix is trying to finish off whoever he can that's remaining. Ryze has already fallen down there. Now the red team's just going to turn around and focus their attention onto the remaining blue members and see what they can pick off. Well, yes, I understand. That was a little bit crazy. But it's like my grandpa always says, League of Legends is crazy. Why are you playing these games at 2 a.m.? Oh, grandpa. The more I learn about League of Legends, the more I realize this game, like I mentioned earlier, really is an intense game of chess. Without strategy, expect to get absolutely dumpstered. Expect the garbage truck to roll up to your house, drag you away with the rest of the trash. With strategy, expect your teacher, albeit me, to give you a gold star.